like I'm surrounded, but I'm surrounded by Jesus. It may look like the enemy's going to win, but I'm truly surrounded and protected by Jesus. First, I want to start by thanking Pastor for giving me this opportunity. He needs a break sometime, so I know I say this literally every time I get up here, but this time I'm not going to take much of your time because I want to focus on something when we're done. So if we could turn to Luke 5 and verse 10. Luke 5 and verse 10. And so was also James and John, the sons of Zebedee, which were partners with Simon. And Jesus said unto Simon, Fear not, from henceforth thou shalt catch men. And when they had brought their ships to land, they forsook all and followed him. You may be seated. In Luke 5, Peter and his crew had been out all night in the Sea of Galilee, confident in their knowledge about catching the fish they needed. But again and again they had cast their nets over the side of the boat, expecting it to return to them filled to the brim with fish, like it usually did. But to their surprise, every swing was a miss. None of the fishermen's skills were paying off. Take a moment to picture their frustration and disappointment they felt as each hour doubled into the next. And still no fish. Imagine their frustration at not being able to do the job they've successfully done hundreds of times before. Fishing wasn't just their weekend hobby. Fishing was their career. So failing to catch a single fish on this all-night fishing trip would have meant more than just a disappointment. It was a devastation to their economic bottom line and to their families. The next morning, the crowds were pushing in, listening to Jesus on the shore. He was teaching, and the people were pressing in so closely to listen that he needed a better platform if he was going to be able to talk where everyone could hear him. Seeing Peter's boat sitting empty on the beach, he called out to him while they were washing their nets. And then Jesus stepped into the empty platform of the boat and asked the fishermen to push it out a little ways so he could teach the crowd more efficiently. From there, as Jesus began to teach, Jesus called out Peter's name, which at the time he went by Simon. And Jesus told him to go out to deeper water and throw the fishing nets out. But this was against everything an experienced fisherman knew about working in this area. To efficiently fish the Sea of Galilee, traditionally you stayed in the shallow water and fished at night, not in the deep part in bright daylight. So Peter initially tried to reason with Jesus, saying that they'd worked all night and caught nothing. But Jesus didn't answer. And he waited until Peter eventually said, If you say so, I'll let down the nets, but it won't work. When they did this, they caught a huge amount of fish. More than enough fish to pay off the debt they owed. When Peter saw this, he fell at Jesus' knees and said, Go away from me, because I am a sinful man, Lord. And in Luke 5 and verse 10, as my opening scripture, Jesus said, I will make you fishers of men. And then Peter and his crew left everything they had with them and followed Jesus. The title of this message was going to be Light in the Darkness. I typed it up months ago, and I haven't felt the time to come back to it. But yesterday I was scrambling for something to find to teach on, and God caught my eye, the words light in the darkness, because a few weeks earlier, he brought an idea to my mind, and the idea was the choice of surrender. And he brought to my attention that I should mold that together into one idea. And he said, the choice of surrender to be the light in the darkness. You see, Peter wasn't doing well financially because of this. He lost his faith in God. But even in his pain, he dropped everything to follow Jesus. We live in such a world that people are being killed left and right. We live in a world that when people get on a stage in front of a crowd of people, they have to be afraid of being hurt or possibly shot. We live in a world today with such darkness that people are being killed for sharing the gospel and persecuted. And I think that we can all agree that the only way that you can kill darkness is with light. So, I have a question today. Would you leave everything to follow Jesus? Would you leave the responsibility of trying to provide for your family just to follow Jesus like Peter did? Will you make a choice of surrender to be the light of the world? Will you be like Peter? Will you leave everything that you have so that you can be the light of the world, so you can share what Jesus has done for you and has given you? Matthew 5 and verse 14 says, you are the light of the world. A town built on a hill cannot be hidden. More than 49,000 people die by suicide each year in the United States. Will you be the light in somebody else's darkness? Will you surrender yourself to be a fisher of men, to be the light of the world? You may think that you're not qualified, but Moses was a murderer. David was an adulterer. Paul was a persecutor of the church, and God still chose them. Not because they were perfect, but because they were willing. But like Josh said, God likes messed up people. God doesn't need a flawless resume. He just needs your surrender. The world looks for the qualified, but God looks for the willing. The world looks for pride, but God looks for surrender. 2 Chronicles 7 and verse 14, then if my people who are called by my name will humble themselves and will pray and will seek my face and will turn from their evil ways, then I myself shall hear from the heavens and will forgive their sins and heal their land. If my people who are called by my name will humble themselves and seek my face. God is seeking your surrender. He wants to use you. He is reaching and looking for somebody here today to say, here I am, God. My life is in your hands. I want to see your desires revealed in my life. So take my heart, Jesus. Take my life. Take my dreams. Take my plans, Jesus. Use me. Real surrender is saying, God, I give myself to you. God, I belong to you. I give myself away so you can use me. John 33 and verse 30. He must increase, but I must decrease. I must deny my flesh. I must deny my desires. I must deny my dreams and my plans and surrender myself so He can increase in my life. So He can use me to change lives and to heal hearts and to be the light in the darkness. As I said, this wouldn't be long. So as the music begins to come, I want to take a moment to focus on the remainder of the service, on surrendering ourselves to God. This wasn't going to be long for the sole purpose because I want to take a moment for us to really sincerely surrender our lives to God. Surrender our schedules. Surrender our early mornings when we want to sleep and we want to stay in bed. And just dedicate ourselves to be the light in somebody else's darkness. There's people out there today who are hurting and in pain, and all they need is something to come and fix their situation. There may even be people in here today struggling with something, struggling with an addiction, struggling with anxiety, struggling with depression. And we have to be that light in somebody else's darkness. For the sake of souls. That's what we're here for. And I want to dedicate myself, I want to surrender myself to be the light in someone else's